It is dark. The work of the day is done. You have no screen to look at, no book to read, no music playing from a speaker. And yet you are not bored. You are sitting by a fire, completely absorbed, laughing harder than you have all week. What exactly are you doing? For roughly 300,000 years, this question had a real answer, and it had almost nothing to do with the things you associate with fun today. No streaming platforms, no video games, no professional sports leagues. And yet anthropologists who have studied surviving hunter-gatherer societies consistently report something surprising. Ancient humans were not bored. They were, by several measures, having a remarkably good time. You probably picture prehistoric life as constant, grinding labor. Hunt, gather, survive, repeat, with no room left over for play. That picture is mostly wrong, and the data behind it comes from one of the most influential studies in anthropology. In 1963, anthropologist Richard Lee conducted fieldwork among the Jew/Hwansi San people of the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa. He tracked exactly how the Jew-Hwansi spent their time, expecting to find a population working desperately just to stay alive. Instead, he found that adults spent on average only about 15 to 20 hours per week on subsistence activities, hunting, gathering, and food preparation combined. The rest of their waking hours were spent on rest, social visiting, ritual, and what can only be described as leisure. This finding became so influential, it eventually inspired the phrase, the original affluent society, coined by anthropologist Marshall Solins, who argued that hunter-gatherers were not poor and overworked, but in some ways wealthier in free time than people in industrial economies. So what did they do with all that free time? The campfire was the original entertainment center, and it served a function more sophisticated than simple warmth and light. Polly Wiesner, who spent decades studying the Yuhuansi, found something striking when she compared daytime conversation to nighttime conversation around the fire. During the day, talk was practical and often centered on complaints, gossip, and economic concerns. Who owed what to whom, who had been lazy, who had taken too much. But at night, around the fire, the entire tone shifted. Conversation turned overwhelmingly toward storytelling. Roughly 80% of nighttime talk, according to Wiesner's research, compared to only a small fraction during daylight hours. These were not idle stories. They were an entire entertainment industry compressed into spoken language. Origin myths explaining how the world came to be, trickster tales featuring clever animals who outwit larger, more powerful creatures. Personal histories, sometimes stretching back generations, about famous hunts, narrow escapes from lions, disputes settled, and disputes that went badly. A skilled storyteller held the same kind of social value that a great filmmaker or novelist holds today. People would travel between camps specifically to hear someone known for being a particularly gifted narrator. Let's reconstruct what one of these nights might have actually looked like. Picture a band of around 30 people somewhere in southern Africa, 30,000 years ago. The sun has gone down. The fire is built up, casting long shadows against simple shelters made of branches and grass. Children who spent the day in semi-independent playgroups, mimicking adult tasks, wrestling, inventing games with sticks and stones, are now folded into the adult circle. An older man begins speaking. He has told this particular story dozens of times, but the details shift slightly each time, depending on his mood and the audience's reactions. Children lean forward. Adults who have heard the story since their own childhoods still laugh at the same parts, still tense at the same moments of danger. This was not simply passive listening. Storytelling functioned as a form of moral and practical education disguised as entertainment. A tale about a foolish hyena who lost his meal through greed taught children about resource sharing without ever delivering a literal lecture. A story about a hunter who ignored warning signs and was injured taught caution about specific environmental dangers. Anthropologists studying oral traditions across multiple continents have found this pattern repeatedly. The most entertaining stories tend to also be the most instructive, encoding survival-relevant information in a format that people actually want to listen to and remember. But storytelling was only one part of the evening. Music and dance were nearly universal across documented hunter-gatherer societies, even those with no contact with one another for tens of thousands of years, which strongly suggests these behaviors are ancient, not culturally borrowed. Archaeological evidence supports this directly. Bone flutes discovered at sites like Hohlfels Cave in Germany have been dated to roughly 40,000 years ago, meaning humans were making deliberate, tuned musical instruments during the last ice age, long before agriculture, long before cities, long before writing. Games existed too, and not only for children. Anthropologists have documented adult hunter-gatherers engaging in wrestling matches, foot races, throwing competitions, and gambling games using simple tools like marked sticks or bones, predecessors to dice. These activities served a dual purpose. They were genuinely fun, and they doubled as low-stakes ways to display physical skill, build social bonds, and occasionally settle minor status competitions without resorting to actual violence. Here is the counterintuitive twist that surprises most people. We tend to assume that more access to entertainment naturally produces more enjoyment. You can stream nearly infinite content instantly from nearly anywhere, at almost any time. And yet surveys consistently report rising rates of boredom, disconnection, and what researchers sometimes call hedonic adaptation, the psychological process by which constant novel stimulation gradually numbs your capacity to feel pleasure from any single experience. Your ancestors had access to a tiny fraction of the entertainment options available to you. But what they had was deeply social, repeated, and embedded in relationships that lasted a lifetime. The same story heard for the 40th time, told by someone you have known since birth, surrounded by everyone you love, activates something that an algorithm recommending you 1,000 new videos simply cannot replicate. This does not mean ancient life was a nonstop party. Anthropological evidence is clear that hardship, hunger, grief, and danger were real and frequent parts of forager existence. Entertainment was not an escape from a comfortable life. It was, if anything, more essential precisely because life could be hard. Laughter around a fire after a difficult day of failed hunting was not trivial. It was a documented stress regulation mechanism that helped bond the group together and prepare everyone to face tomorrow's uncertainty as a unified team rather than 30 isolated, exhausted individuals. Think about the last time you genuinely lost track of time, laughing with people you love, no screens involved, just voices and firelight, and a story someone was clearly enjoying telling. That feeling is not a modern accident. It is one of the oldest forms of joy your species has ever produced, refined across hundreds of thousands of years, specifically because groups who could laugh together, tell stories together, and play together survived better than groups who could not. It is dark. The work of the day is done. You are sitting by a fire, completely absorbed, laughing harder than you have all week. You always have been.